Then I want to introduce our Bear Valley Emergency Radio Team. They're going to come up and let you know everything you need to know. After that, anybody who wants to get a radio with them can go in the back and get signed up, and I'll present the barricade fire information at that time.
All right, I'm Dick Brown. I live in Bear Valley. Been in Bear Valley since 1999, so I've been there a couple of years. Been on the DPAC board for 4 years. I'm no longer on the DPAC. And in 1999, there was actually a Bear Valley emergency radio team formed. But as time went on, some of the hams moved away, and ham radio isn't as popular now then as it is now. DPAC was discussing communications and one of the other things, and that brought up kind of the Paradise Fire at that time. And ham radio has been around since the 1900s. And hams got their name from the professionals because the professionals thought they were just hams and didn't know anything. So that's how it came about. And in 1964 was the big Alaskan earthquake. And at that time, for 9 months, the only communications with Alaska was via ham radio. And also during that time, Puerto Rico and the hurricanes and the LA fires, it's all assisted with ham radio because everything else goes down. I talked to my buddy Ron that was in the Paradise Fire, and I asked him if he'd like to give us a little idea what it was like. He says, no, I would rather forget it, and I can't. He said, I looked out the front door, my trees were on fire. He said, we had no notice. He said, we had 5 minutes to get out. He says, I don't know how many mailboxes we ran over trying to get out, my wife and I in the car and the truck. He said the smoke was so thick, the flames were so heavy that they didn't think they were going to get out. He says, I'd rather not talk about it. I'd rather try to forget it. And he says, I can't. So that's what it's like to be there. Also, the hams, just one of the other things that the hams do is in the tornado watches in the Midwest. When they have these big storms and everything that goes on, the hams go out and they provide storm watch, tornado watch, and so on. And when you see these folks, most of them are ham radio operators, and it's reported back to the local communities, and it's put out on the TVs and so on. But most of those people are all hams. And here in Bear Valley, we started this a while back, but we have the hams. There's in the ham group of the ERT team, Bear Valley's emergency radio team, there's about 20 members at the present time. Not all the hams live in Bear Valley, which is a good thing. And in working this out, and it started in the DPAC board, it went all the way up to the CSD, and it was incorporated into the CSD that we are the communications backup for the fire and or the police department. And we cannot self-activate. Either the fire department has to activate us, or the chief of police or his associate will activate us. We do not distribute information other than what comes from them, and it is going to be and will be word for word. There will be no other discussions. And we have 3 repeaters located inside of almost inside of Bear Valley, which can cover communications. We can talk into Bakersfield. Under the right conditions, we can talk as far as Santa Maria. I've talked to Big Bear through one of our local repeaters, which is on top of Bear Mountain. The other repeater's on Cub Peak. There's also a repeater on Skyline. If the repeater on Bear Mountain goes down in the fire, we go to Cub Peak. If Cub Peak burns down, we go to Skyline. If that fails, we have enough communication equipment. We can talk anywhere in the world, almost anytime we want to talk. So we can relay messages, ask for help, and provide the people and the services of the fire or police with communications to anywhere in the world at almost any time. We're using radios here in Bear Valley, like this one, that you can get from the ERT team. It is pre-programmed to the 3 channels that we will be using in times of an emergency. One channel, in channel 1, there will be nothing heard unless we activate it. And that will be to tell you to go to one of the other channels. That's where the activity will be taking place. We picked a frequency that is not used locally for anything, and we will activate your radio. You can put your radio in the charger, leave it in the charger, turned on. If you're going someplace, you want to take it with you, take it with you. Put it in your pocket, leave it on. If you think you need it, bring it back, put it in the charger. But if you leave it on and you lay it down, 2 or 3 days it's going to be dead, and then you're not going to hear anything. So all of the hams, of the approximately 20 hams that we have in the ERT team in Bear Valley and the associated areas, are all members of what's called TARA, Tehachapi Amateur Radio Association. And that is the local club. We have 75 members that can actually help us if we needed it. And the reason for that is TARA covers our insurance. We don't have to worry about Bear Valley having insurance, anybody else to cover us. We're self-covered under the TARA operations. Also, we have about 70 to 80 of these radios out in the field at different homes at the present time. I think we have demand for, all total, counting those in the field, somewhere around 170 radios that can be alerted at one time. So see Dave or John to sign up to get your radio. And one of the other things why we want to program your radio and you don't program your radio is we are operating on amateur radio frequencies which are licensed by the FCC. All of us have to have a license to operate on these frequencies that we're operating on. And there's different classes, but should you program your own radio, the FCC monitors, and you never know when or who or where they're going to be. The fines can be up to $10,000 a day. Not going to say you're going to get fined the first time, the second time, but that's why we want to program the radios. Is if you don't have a license, you're not going to get in trouble with the FCC. And under that, the FCC has authorized us to work with FEMA and the ARRL, which is the Amateur Radio Relay League, that represents us in Congress. And along that line, Bear Valley, Stallion Springs, and Golden Hills all have their restrictions on antennas. Bear Valley has been very gracious and let the hams put up antennas with no problems at all. But there is a bill going to Congress right now which will overrule any restrictions that the local authorities might place on antennas. Whether it passes or not, I don't know, but it will give a lot of access to the hams. If you are interested in getting a license, the club gives the tests. We can help you find the study forms that you need to. We'll help you get the license, and there may be some classes. The club is talking about having classes for the ham radio itself. We can communicate when nobody else can, when all else fails. During the Vietnam War, we didn't have the cell phones like we have today. The sailors and the boys out there in Vietnam and on the ships, We provided the communication for them. They would get on the radio on the ship or wherever they were. We'd hook up a phone patch. They could talk to their family at home. There isn't any place we can't talk to at some time or another during near every day. One of the best contacts I ever had in my life, and you never know who you're going to talk to, I was talking to King Hussein of Jordan when he was alive. So there's a lot of people out there. Last man standing, he's a ham. So do we have any questions along this? Shelley?
Thank you. So my question is, I have a friend who has a ham radio. Can you guys program it, or does she need to get a new one from you?
We can work with him and see what he has and go from there.
And what is the cost for these radios for these people today?
$25 and they're pre-programmed. See Dave and see John there for the sign up. And we've got another hand over here.
Just wanted to make it clear that you cannot transmit on this radio. I want to make sure they're going to be programmed so that you can't transmit. You can only receive on the radio. So everybody understands that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
That's why we want to program them rather than have you go online and buy it and try to program it. And then all at once, when we're trying to do communications, you're trying to talk on the radio to somebody, and that's when it all comes apart.
Hi, I got an email, I filled out a form, I paid the $25. I don't know if it was from Bear Valley Springs or from you guys, and I've heard nothing. What would have that been sent from? Would that have been like CERT, or would it have been you guys? Because
You say you did send one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys would have that now, that information and that
We are
payment?
working on it. We ordered 100 radios, and we're passing those out to the first people that signed up.
So
We
that would have been
have-
sent out a little while ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So we just received another 100 radios this
Okay.
last week. We're in the process of programming them, and we were going down the list
Got it.
as they were signed up. So you will get a call
Thank
or an
you.
email or something shortly.
And once they get if they do decide to get a license, now you deprogram it so that they can actually talk on it too and maybe get a position. Is that?
They can. We want them to work with the ERT team, but once they get a license, the frequencies that we're using are available for them to use, plus many, many more.
Hi, yeah, my dad was a big ham radio guy. He loved it. I'd like to get involved in you guys' team. What time do you guys meet? When is it? Is it like monthly, or what's the group all about?
We meet monthly. The ER team meets on the third Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the Equestrian Center in Bear Valley. But that's just the emergency team. The club meets the second Thursday at the police station
How
at
cool.
7 p.m. And everybody's welcome in town, not Bear Valley, in town.
And then the last question was, is there any way to charge it solar? I mean, if we are in emergency, we're having to charge it. Is there?
If you have one of those solar battery packs that have an AC plug on the front of it,
So is it just like a USB that charges, or
does
how?
not have USB.
It's
It has its own charger that comes with the radio that you need to plug into a 110 outlet.
Okay, so if we have a generator, we could plug it in.
Yeah,
Would work.
if you have
Would work
one of
with
the
a generator.
Jackeries or one of the battery packs that are portable, it will plug into that and charge.
So if I understand it correctly, today we are just signing up for the radios,
That is correct.
and then we will be contacted.
Then you'll be contacted.
Thank
We're
you.
handing them out in the order that they were signed up for.
Okay, thank you very much.
One other question I've got for you folks. How many are from Bear Valley? Almost everybody here. How many of you folks read the Bear Tracks? Did you see the article in this month's Bear Tracks? Did you read the article in the Bear Tracks? This tells you all about the Bear Valley Springs Emergency Radio Team. So it's all right here. Dave's here and John is here. They'll both take your information for radios if you want them. You don't pay for them now, pay for them when you pick them up. All we do is when the chief calls us, we pass communications that he's requested. When the internet goes down, when the cell phones go down, we're the last ones out there. We can still do it. That's all I got, unless somebody's got some questions on the... One more.
We brought our radio with us. It's charged. We're ready to go. Do you do a test maybe once a year so that we all know it's working for us?
We'll be planning a test. The chief has some things up his sleeve at this time, and we want to work with the chief. So we don't have a date or a time as of yet, but we will test it sometime within the next 6 months. See Dave, see John, sign up for what you need. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Give them a hand of applause. Thank you so much that they've come to help us today. Appreciate that.